Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Yeonmi Park and I'm a nurse and effector human rights activist. Today guys, I have a very special guest for you to meet. His name is Kenneth Bae. He's a missionary from America who survived North Korean labor camp. He's a missionary and went to North Korea to pray for the people of North Korea and letting them know that God loves them. However, even though his activity was so peaceful, all he did was bringing people to pray for North Korea. He got caught because he had information in his hard drive about a documentary that's showing North Korean children begging on the street. And this thing, he got caught as a crime for overthrowing North Korean regime, and he was sentenced for hard labor 15 years in North Korea. He eventually sent to North Korean labor camp. He lost like 50 pounds in a few weeks time. He experienced malnutrition for several times. However, he survived all the odds. After 2 years of serving in the prison, he got out. And now he's here to share his story of how he survived North Korean prison camp. So please welcome me with our guest today, Kenneth Bae. Hi, Mr. Kenneth Bae. It's an honor to have you. I've been wanting to have you on my channel so long. I just recently finished your book, Not Forgotten. Just by accident, I found the book and I just read it and I couldn't sleep for a while. So I'm so excited to have you on my channel and share your story.
Well, it's nice meeting you as well.
I
Yes.
know it's such an honor. I heard about your story about your detention in North Korean concentration camp, labor camp, right? For a while. So, a lot of people really don't know about I think your story, especially with my audience. So, would you like share? Just with your story briefly, how you were able got detained in North Korea in the first place.
Yes. Well, hello everyone. My name is Kenneth Bae. I was a missionary to China and North Korea. I was actually able to bring Christian tourists to North Korea over about 18 different times. We wanted to go and see the land and bless the people through prayer and then worship in behalf of the people in North Korea there. I was able to bring about 300 Christian tourists into the country over 18 different times. At the last, and I was detained in North Korea because I made a mistake by carrying in the portable computer hard drive. This contained there's documentary film about in North Korea that made by the Western media, and they didn't like the content of children picking up the garbage on the street and things like that, and they wanted to know why I brought such a hostile material into the country. I explained to them it was a pure mistake. I didn't even know that I had my hard drive with me, or I didn't even know that I had this content in my hard drive. Someone gave it to me a few years ago. I forgot about that. But you know, and in addition, this also contained all my mission support letters and report about North Korea and China. I was working as a missionary, so it was a matter of time that they were going to discover that I was actually missionary, so in and out of North Korea at the time.
So I think that 2 years journey that you went through, but initially you brought Christians to the country and not letting know the regime that you were praying for the country.
Well,
Uh,
actually, I was this time was the first time they opened up the border to
mm,
a place called Rasan, the city of Rasan. This city was open to foreigners to come and invest or help with many humanitarian projects. So it was so that it was known. They have known that almost everybody was coming in. There are
mm,
Christians. There could be a missionary that coming in to help the North Korean people. For that time, this was back in 2012 that I was detained, but I was starting to bring people in from 2011. When I went in for first time 2010, and they were beginning to open up the border for Western tourists. Until then, it was only possible to bring Chinese or Russian tourists at the time. So they are opening the border. So I told them that everybody that I'll be bringing, most likely they'll be Christian, but that was okay with them as long as we keep the prayer and worship among ourselves. And they said it's fine to bring Christians to country. And so I knew that they knew that we're Christian, they're coming in. But, obviously, when they discovered the hard drive, they wanted to find an excuse to detain me. And they said, it is actually, it's not a crime to bring people to come to North Korea, but it's a crime. You made a crime to overthrow the government of North Korea, trying to overthrow the government of North Korea. And I told them, what do you mean I was trying to overthrow the government of North Korea and how? And this is what they said, through prayer and worship. And I say, if you don't believe in God, why do you believe in prayer? And I told them that, there's no, I don't understand. You may have more faith than most of Christians too, because Christians don't pray. They believing that North Korea will collapse or we will be able to reach them through gospel. But apparently I brought 300 intercessors, the people who pray over 17 different countries to enter into the country over 1 year period of time. And they walk around praying and worship. They accused me that I was trying to overthrow the government through prayer and worship. And this is what they said, if one person become Christian and 10 will become Christian, 10 will become 100, 100 will become 10,000 some days. When that happens, do you think they're going to be threat to us or not? And I said, maybe it's possible. And see, what you tried to do was you're trying to inject us with Christian virus, and this virus will spread. Everybody will turn to God, and they will not believe in their government and their leader anymore. They abandon their Juche ideology, and then this country will become a God's country. So when that happened, when he said that, I felt like it was, God Himself spoke to me that yes, one person can make a difference. Prayer can make a difference. Regardless, I was charged to try to overthrow the government of North Korea. I received 15 years of hard labor sentence. I was the first American. It was sent to prison in North Korea since Korean War.
Yeah, I remember that. I think so. One thing that I learned from your book is that you talk about how North Korea used to be before Kim's. That was like almost like the east of Jerusalem. There was a huge revival of Christianity in Pyongyang, especially, and with the current North Korea that you experienced, I really cracked me up when the point somebody from Pyongyang asked you, like, I heard about God, but where's this guy called Jesus? Does he live in North Korea or China? Right, like that really cracked me up. And that also still shows how North Koreans has been completely, like hidden from this information, that they don't even know the name Jesus Christ.
See, the North Korea, especially Pyongyang, the capital of North Korea, right now, it used to be called the Jerusalem of the Far East. There are more Christians living in that city. The largest church was in Asia was in Pyongyang, about 100 years ago. And also there were seminary. They are large, the Christians and missionary population, in Pyongyang at the time. But now become desolate place. Ever since 1960, when Juche ideology came in, they not only close all the churches, they actually eliminate Christianity, and then also eliminate the name Jesus. So when I was questioned by National Security Bureau agent, and then he was born in Pyongyang, he went to college in Pyongyang, and he said, I never heard the name Jesus before. Tell me whether he lives in Korea or China. Not that I was kidding. But that even though he was National Security Bureau agent, but he said he never heard the name Jesus. This is what it's like to living in North Korea. 25 million people lives in North Korea. 3 million people live in Pyongyang. And then name of Jesus being erased. So of course there are hidden Christians, and there are maybe the people who left North Korea, got captured, from China to went back, and they found Jesus when they were in China. But the name Jesus is not something you will find in any books or any movies or any common knowledge. This is something that people are afraid to talk about. So therefore, most of people, especially people under 50, never heard the name Jesus or anything about God until they actually escaped from North Korea.
Yeah.
Was that the case for you, Yeonmi?
Yeah,
Is
I
that
mean,
for you? Yeah. Was it the same
I
case?
absolutely, I did not even know the name of God in my life. And we know something like there's difference between Hananim and Hanunim. We knew the word Hananim, but like we did not know the word God in North Korea. And I mean, in my time, it was very common for people to be executed if they ever read the Bible. And this is where something you can explain to us that in your book, like actually North Korean officials officially, I mean, openly telling you that they are actually not afraid from the nuclear invasion from the US. What they're more afraid is like gospel. They are afraid of Christianity more than anything in this world. And why do you think it is that? Why are they so afraid of this like words of God?
See, Kim Il Sung's grandfather was an elder at the church. His mother was a very devoted Christian, and then his uncle was used to be the pastor. So he grew up in seeing Christian. Grew up in a Christian home, and he attended a church when he was a little. Even though he said it was his parents make him to go to church, I guess, but in a way that he knew what it's like to live as Christians and a Christian family, I guess. And then, so when we look at their system, they copy a lot of things from the Christianity. Instead of trinities, they have Father Kim Il Sung, son Kim Jong Il, and the mother, the Korean Labor parties. So therefore, the Trinity is there, and also there's the Ten Commandments. It was almost exactly the same as their own party. That the special rule for 10 of the rule that they come up with. So therefore, North Korea, they're afraid that the Christianity. This is what they told me, that that we are not afraid of nuclear weapon of America, because America will never attack us first unless we attack them. But they say, but we are afraid that someone like you as a missionary coming in and infecting the lies to our country, and everybody will fall, and our country will fall, and then everybody will turn to God. And therefore, no longer will be able to worship our own God, which is Kim Il Sung. And then, because that means then they'll be worshiping other gods. So if you become Christian in North Korea, and then the 3 generations to be wiped out, they'll kill you, they'll kill your parents and kill your children. And because they see it as political crime by accepting someone else as the father, other than worshiping Kim Il Sung. So therefore, Christianity is what they see is a directly a threat. And this is why that they decided to take me to the court. I wanted to make sure that everybody know that I was there serving the crime, because I was trying to help the people in North Korea through prayer. And we want to see the true worship will take place in North Korea too.
Yeah, I mean, this is so true. Like, even when I was a child in North Korean classrooms, teachers would teach me that my actual father is Kim Il Sung and Kim Jong Il. This father is way more important than my own father. And obviously, when people believe in God, right, their father becomes God. So this is a huge threat for the regime. But not only that, there were so many moments in your book that, like, as a North Korean defector, right, I live in the country, but I never experienced it as an American being detained in the country. So, like, during that 2 years, right, you of course lose so much weight in the labor camp through, like, the food is really scarce, even to American. And what was the biggest challenge? Do you still remember? Do you still have nightmares being detained in that camps, or have you gotten over it now?
Yeah, I ended up, I ended up in in labor camp, but it was
Mm.
designed for foreigners only. So when I got there, there were about 50 or so guard and staffs are working at the camp, but I was the only prisoner there during the whole time.
You said 50 members?
Yeah, there were about 50 or more guard were there working at the prison. The prison was pretty big, but I was
Mm.
the only prisoner there. So I have to work from 8 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock in the evening, 6 days a week, doing any type of a hard labor, digging the ground, carrying rock, or just doing a lot of manual farming work. And so it was extremely difficult. In the summer, it was about maybe 35, 37 degree Celsius, which was like 100 degree in Fahrenheit. And I have to work in very hot summer days. And I drink water, but I never go to bathroom because everything come out in the sweat. And then the winter time, it was like a minus 17 Celsius. It was extremely cold. My hand was freezing, but my body was hot because I was working a lot.
Mm.
So at nighttime, when I lay down on my bed, it's really hard to sleep because they kept the light on, so they don't want. And then there's camera, so they make sure that I don't kill myself or do something like trying to
Ah.
escape or anything like that. And then, but there's no, and then there also there window, but there's no bulk screen. So
Ah.
that means that um, I mean, so I got I have to kill about 200 to 300 bucks per night in order for me to go to sleep because but so I was so tired. And so sometimes I just, when buck landed in my face, I just let it be because, it'll go away eventually. And then I had an authorized pain. So it was extremely difficult. I had to get up every maybe hour. And so I got up for about 20 minutes and shaking my hand. So I told the Lord, I told God, Lord, how long will this
Mm.
suffering will last? Because in the beginning of my detainments, Lord promised me in a way through His own word that is He will rescue me. But after 7 months being detained, I was sent to the labor camp. I was literally dying there. So I asked, how long would this be? And then I felt like God said to me and said, even suffering is beneficial for you. And even though I didn't like his answer at all, and he said, "But my grace is more than enough for you. So just hang in there. I am with you. There's something to be accomplished through this, and fix your eye upon me and continue to trust in me." So that was his word, and I was able to have my Bible with me at the time. They actually gave back the Bible to me, so I read a lot of Bible. I worship, I pray a lot while I was in prison, and this is one of the way that I was able to sustain myself. So ever since I came back, I did not go to any hospital. I didn't have any nightmare. Time to time, I had a dream about when I'm back in North Korea, detained
Yeah.
again for a second time, or they're
Yeah.
arresting me. And there's sometimes that happen, but usually finish the dream with a little bit more of a happy ending than sad ending. So it was like I
Yeah.
was, you know yeah, seeing them again in different way. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the common thing if you mean North Korean defectors is that in their dreams, still they are not free. Like every night, my mom, in her dreams, she's never free. And I think that's a very common thing among North Korean defectors that we share. So that's why I was asking you that question. But one thing that really struck me in your book again is that even during when you were detained and they knew that you're a Christian, you believed in God, they were still trying to brainwash you by making you mandatory to watch North Korean TV. That is like brainwashing you about Kims. And then what you said one day is that all these like songs about worshiping Kims, right? And then you eventually had to switch the word. And like this could make a great worship song. So would you tell us that story?
Well, yeah, it's every Sunday. I didn't have to work outside, but they make me sit in the chair and I have to watch TV from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., 13 hours TV days. But there's only one channel. There is a one channel. It's all about propaganda about Kim Il Sung, Kim Jong Il, Kim Jong Un. So I had to watch the same documentary, a movie, 5, 6 times that same week, but they always show it every day. And so it's just, but just something happened to you, once you watch it for 2 or 3, 4 months. I started. Sometimes I just, watching the movie, and I was thinking, yeah, they're. I was thinking that, yeah, they're not a bad leader. Actually, they're pretty good. And they care about their people. And I was start thinking about like that way. But starting to, and then also, there's no commercial shown between the program. They normally just have a worship song play, their own worship song to their leader, and it's like songs nowadays with Kim Jong Un, with a new, it's like new, the band is playing, the songs like Confession, I Will Never Live Without You, or, there's different songs, but I'm listening to the song, I'm starting to sing those songs. And then I realized that, wait a minute, I'm singing the song to love song to the Kim Jong-un. So sometimes I just change the name, Kim Jong-un to Jesus, and then because it's worship songs. So one time I was just daydreaming, singing those songs, but I was always hungry because they only give me a little bit of food, just soup and rice and 2 pickle per meal. So like 3 meals the same. So, and after by working outside for about a couple of hours, I get really hungry. So one time I was just singing them. I was just sitting there watching this TV, and then I started daydreaming because I didn't want to watch it. I started thinking about something else, and I started thinking about food. And I was thinking about, the food that I want to eat the most. And then I was thinking of Hawaiian chocolate with a macadamia nut. And I thought, that would be nice to have. Second thing is Kit Kat. And a third thing is beef jerky from Costco. And the fourth thing was mixed nut. And then the fifth thing was energy bar. I thought I was hungry, so it would be nice to carry around. But where can I get a Hawaiian chocolate in North Korea prison? So I just smiled. I didn't even pray or anything like that. But 3 months later, I was sent to the hospital because of malnutrition. I lost more than 50 pounds, more than 27 kilo at the time, and I almost passed out. So they took me to the hospital. I was treated for a couple of months. And then my mom, who lived in Seattle, Washington, she came out to visit me. It was an emotional visit. We had great reunions. And second day, she came to see me again. We were talking, and then she said, I brought you something. She opened her bag. First thing she took out was a Hawaiian chocolate with macadamia nut. And the second thing was Kit Kat. Third thing was beef jerky from Costco. And fourth thing was mixed nut. Fifth thing was energy bar. See, I didn't pray. I didn't call my mom, say I want my chocolate. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't write to her. I actually forgot the fact that I thought about this 5 months ago. But apparently God remembered, So, I was telling people it's not the fact that I was able to have my chocolate, but it was more about God's promise, saying that is, Kenneth, I care about you. I'm with you. Hanging in there. It's almost like he said, I know, I made you, created you. So I know the craving of your heart, even craving of your stomach. So it's almost like I didn't even have to tell, but the Lord provided these kind of things to make sure that to let me know that there's a reason why that I was stuck in prison that way.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, that at the end of the book, what I really got from you is that you're kind of very strong, powerful witness, right? Like a lot of people really cannot fathom how inhumane the regime treats its own people. And then like you witness as an American, the most powerful citizen, right, in the nation, they treat you that way. Did you get some like now clear idea what kind of human rights violations were happening in the country at that point, or like was it the same, or the regime was worse than what you expected?
I was putting in the prison for foreigners only, and then I was only one there, so I really didn't experience what it's like. I couldn't really compare because I didn't see with my eyes. But in terms of, I've been working with many defectors since I came back, and I've been actually working in South Korea last 5 years, helping North Korean refugees to settle in South Korea, and I'm many people that I interview, they've been often been caught and sent back to North Korea. They went through different type of treatments, and what I saw, what I heard, from them, it's just a horror story after one after others. So for me, what happened was they knew that I was going home sometime. I guess I was there as a political bargaining chip rather than someone paying for my own crime. So the same prosecutor wanted to sentence me life in prison, and then ended up getting a 15 years of hard labor sentence. The same guy said, 15 years, and then after 2 weeks after I was detained, I was sent to labor camp. He came back to me and said, "How come your government is not working fast enough to get you home?" So it was more like more type of a show. But meanwhile, I was supposed to suffer in prison. But I guess they didn't realize I was gonna there for 2 years either in the beginning. They thought that I probably can go home just like everybody else, which longest was held was for about 4 months or 5 months before. And then I ended up staying for 735 days. So I think, so in terms of human rights violation, they wanted to make sure that that my human right is not violated. So they decided to have me, my Bible with me, so those kind of thing was there because I was on good term with them. But I realized that there are other prisoners who went to same prison after me. They, even though they request for the Bible for a whole year, they didn't give to them, just because they didn't like it. They didn't like the person they're coming in. And so after a year later, they were able to provide for a Bible and so on. So therefore, it wasn't everybody got the same treatment. And then you can see the, you heard about the Alta Wambier.
Yes.
This he was an American University of Virginia student. He was 21-year-old, went to North Korea as a tourist. But they sentenced him to 15 years hard labor, just like me. They sent him to the same prison. But apparently something happened there, and I think he was tortured and he died. So it wasn't like just because I was American, I was exempt from torture and human rights abuse. But I think it was a part of God's grace for me to be able to come back. And then because there's missions still need to be accomplished. But so I do believe that, but one thing that I can say for sure is which country in the world nowadays in 21st century, just because you're believing in God and you just want to worship, we're not forcing anybody to worship. We're not forcing anybody to become Christian. Nothing like that. Just because we're there bringing people, we wanted to worship inside of North Korea. We wanted to love the people as Christ loved us. They thought that we are committing a crime because we are Christians. So therefore, by itself, this is a human right violation. Freedom of religion. It simply was, ignored, and then I was actually charged for the crime. So at the trial that they asked me, if do you have anything to say? There was like last word, and I told them, simply I'm here at the trial because of my faith in my religion, because North Korean constitution guaranteed the freedom of religion supposedly. But apparently I'm there because I've done more things than just believe in God. That's what they said. And then so I told them that if I'm being charged because of my religion, then what will happen when two Korea is unified? And North always want to unify with the South Korean people. I said, did you know that there's 10 million Christians living in South Korea? More than 50,000 churches there. What are you gonna do with all these Christians? And there are about 10 million Buddhists there also. And there
Mm-hmm.
are half of people in South Korea have some sort of religion. And I said that, and so I say even, and then I said this, even the president of the North Korea, Kim Il Sung, once
Mm-hmm.
said this. And then I was quoting their own like a Bible,
Yeah.
quoting the, his memorial and talking about it. He said this: regardless of their nationality, their culture, and language, if anyone is for a unification of North and South, is for the prosperity of the Korean people, and he said that I'm willing to work with him, no matter
Mm.
who he is, what religion he has. And then that's what I told them. This is what President Kim Il Sung once said, and everybody kind of listened to really, sit up really, and then listen to what Kim Il Sung's word. And then I said, I'm here for reunification of North and South,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm for prosperities of Korean people. So instead of punishing me for because of my religion, then why don't you just use me as a bridge between North and Korea and the rest of the world, just like I've been doing, bringing people and then praying. And you can tell the world, hey, we're not charging Christians, we're not ignoring, we're not, doing this against the human rights issues. So we can,
Right.
and I was telling that this is what you can tell the world that, yeah, yes, we do have a freedom of religion. And then I guess they were shocked that I was actually saying those words. But at
Right.
the end, the prosecutor came to me and said, "Yeah, I think they're gonna do a special treatment for you. I think it's gonna be great." And then I still got a 15 years. I still went to prison. I got a special treatment by going to prison, but I think this is something that I wanted to let them know that, I mean, if you're gonna charge me with a crime just because I brought people to pray, what will happen to 10 million people? We're gonna be united once, in the future, unless you
Mm-hmm.
know. And how are we gonna live together if we're
Right.
thinking about difference? If we're not able to tolerate the differences of the people, how people live. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's in theory. Somehow, North Korea wants a reunification, but they want a way that entire Korea worships Kims. They never wants the right. That's their goal. But I think do you so until the Oros incident, right? I was too. Whenever people from America, other countries get detained in North Korea, I always thought, oh, they're gonna get out. And then after the Oros case, it became very clear that what the regime is capable of. And do you think it was that actually a good thing or a bad thing? Because there were some times they were saying, yeah, you're not fully American, you're not white, you're Asian, Korean. Therefore, your government is not doing their best to come get you, right? They're really trying to play that like psychology game with you. But also, as you said, they really liked it. They gave you a Bible. The fact that you are Korean American, was that, I mean, a good thing, or you think that was a bad thing to them?
Well, that's what they said. Just because you're not really American, I said, "What do you mean by that?" I said, "You're not, you mean like you're not a really white American?" I say, there are other people who are not, what the Caucasian Americans that came to North Korea, and the president, of the United ex-presidents that came to get them home too,
Yeah.
several times. So it's not the case like that. But but last month or so, right before I was able to come home, and I
Mm.
knew that there's something was going on. I knew that I had more chance of going home at that time, but just waiting was very difficult.
Right.
Every Saturday, one of the prosecutor that who's been visiting me every whole year, and then on Saturday, so he come to see me and said, especially November 1st, I remember 2014. That was like
Mm.
2 days before the 2 year anniversary. He came and said, "You've been here for 2 years. No one is coming for you. You've been abandoned by your governments, and nobody remembered you. You've been forgotten."
Yeah.
And so we will celebrate your 60th birthday 13 years from now. Then, because you only be, it's now, then you'll finish your 10th sentence. But he's been saying this for every Saturday for a whole year. So I nicknamed him Mr. Disappointment. And then whenever Mr. Disappointment come, I get really disappointed, regardless of whether I read the Bible and pray and worship. If I get disappointed, I start to lose hope. I become hopeless, become just fall into despair and become desperate. I get depressed, and then I was just feeling like I was gonna die. So I had to choose whether to listen to Mr. Disappointment, listen to God's people, and then the word that God is giving me through the Bible. There are actually 450 people around the world that sent me a letter and said, Kenneth, you're not forgotten. We are praying for you. We're standing with you. Hang in there. So I received a lot of letters, and then more than 177,000 people signed the petition to President Obama and asking that please bring Kenneth Bae home. So I knew something was going on. And then I didn't know millions of people around the world pray for me. They were praying and at the time. So every time I start losing hope, I went to my bathroom, and then I just looking at the mirror and said, remember who you are. You are missionaries, and you are here for the reason. So I have to say, my name is Kenneth Bae. I'm a missionary. I have to say it over again every time I lose hope, probably a couple hundred times. But amazing thing happened. November 3rd, early morning, God woke me up. I woke up and I heard clearly God say to me in my heart and say, open your Bible to Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 20. So I have no idea what the verse was. I opened it and I saw this sign say, I will bring you home. There was a Monday, November 3rd, and then Friday, U.S. envoy arrived. And Saturday, I came home. On the Saturday, on the way home, we have Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, and 20 other officials came to get me home at the time. So on the way home, I told them, God spoke to me on Monday. She was going to bring me home, and they were so surprised. We left Washington, D.C., White House on Monday, November 3rd. So he letting me know that he's bringing me home. At the same time, he sent the U.S. government plane to get me home. So this is just amazing. Not because I just I realized that I know. I guess President Obama knows my name, but more importantly, God the Father knows my name, and then he was with me all this time. And he was just reminding me that millions of people around the world pray for you, Kenneth, and then I remembered you. And then people of North Korea have not forgotten either. So please go home and tell the people what I've done for you, and tell them and that as people pray for you, that your prayer was answered, you were able to come home. In the same way, if they can remember and stand with and pray for the people in North Korea, 25 million people never heard the gospel or name of Jesus before, and God will deliver them and rescue them and restore their life and rebuild their relationship together, with God again. And I do believe that day will be coming soon. Yeah. So since I came home in 2014, it's been almost 8 years now. I've been traveling all over the world, and I spoke in many gathering and cities, and every chances I get, I'm telling the same story that what God has done for me. At the same time, now we are raising up the people who can stand together so that standing together meaning not looking at the other way for their human rights violations and all kind of abuse been going on. There are more than 100,000 refugees that made it to North Korea, to China, and now they're living in hiding. They're not safe. They always can be arrested and be sent back to North Korea. We need to remember them and their human right. And because they're married to North Chinese men, but in the rural area, but it's not legal marriage, so they can always be kicked out of and then sent back to North Korea, and they're facing the prison time. And also, there are about 35,000 North Korean refugees made it to South Korea and other countries like US and Canada and Europe. And therefore, we were really wanting to see the people that came out of North Korea. But it's a still blessing for them to be out there, but still it's not easy for people to be able to stand on their own. So this is what I've been doing last 5 years or so. I've been relocating myself to South Korea, started something called Yeonmi Global Initiative, and set up a community center for North Korean refugees. So
In
we've been
America,
doing
is
a
that?
lot of in South Korea, in Seoul. Yeah, and also we have the Yeonmi Global Initiative set up in USA as well. Our headquarters is moving to Seattle area. But we'll be, traveling and meeting with many different people. We recently had something called the Yeonmi Discipleship Camp we were to bring students, their college students, the North Korean refugee students, and they are able to come to U.S. for 3 weeks, and they travel to Washington D.C., California, and they were able to speak at churches and schools and university. And it's been really a blast. And then for them to be able to equip. And then we're trying to raise them up as like a Nehemiah for this generation. So the leaders, they become leaders from their whole spirit society. So when North Korea collapsed, we want them to be able to return back to North Korea and rebuild North Korea together with the rest of the people who care about North Korean people. Yeah, so we started something called Pray number 4 nk.org, pray for nk.org. So people can go to the website and sign up to become a prayer partners. Right now, we have people from 84 different countries. Over 5,800 people have signed the petition to God. It's almost like, yes, we will remember them, stand with them, and pray for them. So you're becoming a international global movement. And then just say, if North Korean people's lives are important, and then they're important to us, and important to God, matter to God, and matter to us. Let us do something about it. So we can start with the prayer. We can also start with see what we can do, in addition to be a voice for the voiceless people, and then writing a petition, not only for someone like me who was a prisoner in 2 years, but North Korean people been living as a prisoner for 70 years. We want to see them free. We want to see them to be able to believe in whatever they want. I mean, seriously, I'm a Christian missionary. I want them to know God and so on, but at least they need to have freedom to do that, and they need to be able to have accessibility. And this is, I think, new era that we are living in. So we really want to see the many people who care about people in North Korea. And I know, Yeonmi, you've been a great voice to reaching out to many people that never really had a heart, never heard what it's like to live as refugees, or that you had sufferings in and out of North Korea. But I want them people to know, and they were saying this, okay, this gotta end now.
Yeah.
And the suffering need to end. We want to see them return to God to be able to restore the nation together. Yeah, so this has been my journey since I came back from North Korea.
That's your story is like beyond inspirational. It gave me so much strength too, and I can definitely, I was rescued by God's people, by missionaries in China to Mongolia, and I have been very blessed because, I was very lucky when I got rescued. And I think a lot of people that watch this channel, I know it's not like just watching this video in general, gonna think, often when it comes to North Korea, the most misconception they have is, oh, there's nothing can be done. It's very sad, it's very tragic, but what can I do? So I think someone like you who've been to North Korea, 18 times or more, and you've been meeting so many North Korean officials and North Korean people in general, and I'm sure you have that insight, what average people can do. And if you can have some of those recommendations, you please share with us, because everybody wants to know how they can help.
Yes, when I was in North Korea prison, I received like 450 letters, but actually more letters. Some of the letters were not delivered. But people around the world remember me. Some
Mm.
people wrote me a letter when they say it's 2 in the morning, I cannot sleep because of you, and then they're praying and so on. So it is important that we start need to care. Like in the Bible, the Nehemiah, it's a book of the Bible in Old Testament. But there was the Judah was destroyed, and people were taken as captive to Babylon's, and then later on he was born as second generation or third generation, but he became official in Babylon's palace, and he was one of the right hand man. But he has everything going really well, but he still remember the people who were left behind in Judea and Jerusalem. And then he heard that that the wall was broken, and and then the gates is burned down. The people are living in shame. Then he just broke down, and he just cried out to God, and he fasted. And then he does something amazing. He been continue to praying and asking God for his mercy and restoration. God heard his cry, and God answered his prayer by going back to Jerusalem to rebuild the wall. And I do believe that it is possible that don't take the prayer lightly. Prayer can make a difference. And so, second thing, number one is you can pray, but if you don't know what to pray, how to pray, join the movements. We'll send you the prayer letters and know how to pray together. People from 84 different countries can pray together. Second thing you can do is just to be more attentive and seeing. For me, ever since I came back, I read a lot of news about North Korea, almost like I become like a North Korea addict in a way, and I was trying to find out more information because I realized that I didn't really know as much of things that I thought I knew a lot, but I wasn't. So I wanted to become a more expert and to knowing more things and what's really going on over there. And then I realized the politic. I didn't know how politics is such an important. Leaders are such important until I was actually detained. It's so important what kind of leader you have in the country. So not only praying for the leadership, but we wanted to see the right leadership to be established there. And so I was realizing that not only people send me a letter and pray for me, they wrote a letter to their congressmen and senators, and a lot of people were involved voicing out. And then some studied a freecannow.com and then put it on Facebook page and tried to rescue me. It was become a campaign, and wrote a prayer petition campaign, and not the prayer petition campaign only, but petition to President Obama. So we can actually be a voice and say North Korea lives matter too. This is North Korean, North Koreans' lives matter. This is a statement that we really wanted to let the rest of the world know. Not everybody watching this channel may be a Christian, but it's okay because every human being should live like human being. And then this is something that is being neglected. They've been living as a slave all their life, and then they die as slave, and there's no freedom to talk and to get a job or even travel within the country. And what kind of life would that be if we are them and living in there? See, I was in and out of North Korea for 18 times. I've been to almost every city in North Korea. I seen suffering of the people. I seen the people, literally modern day slavery. And so now they didn't even know what the human right is. They never heard about such a term once they come out. So once they come out, and almost every refugees are, they're really getting upset and mad because they've been lied they've been lied. They thought that they had even the system's broken, but they thought that at least their leader care. Realized that wasn't the case at all, and they were mad. But there's a brokenness. There is a hatred, and there's all kinds of sufferings that even they come out. A lot of people need to see actual psychology, that's counselings and the difficulties adjusting because of all the scar they went through during the time in North Korea and when they came out. So we really need to see if there's anybody near us that who may be a North Korean refugees. Don't see them as a defector, see them as refugees that who need we nurture. Who is just like they're a human being. They're not beneath us or they're not above us, but they're just like us. Just see them as who they are and start embracing them. So a lot of people not only wrote a petition, start caring for me, about me. And then same way, if you can do the same to the people near you, then I think this will be one of the way that we can show the world. Yes, we're not only saying that, but North Korean refugees' life matter too.
Right.
I think the last thing that we need to do is to be a strong voice for North Korean regimes. And then this politics, I was able to visit with North Korean refugees to Washington, D.C. We had a surprising meeting with some of the people working the governments, and then they make decisions on what's happening in Korean Peninsula, what's happening in East Asia. So we're able to voice our opinions, what kind of life should it be, and then how the human rights issues and about North Korean people need to be valued. So there was a certain things that North Korean refugees themselves were asking U.S. government officials that, please, I know we are busy working on with the deal with the nuclear weapons and all kind of stuff, but more importantly, see, North Korean, 25 million people living there and see if we can do something to help them to live a better life.
Yeah.
Which means reunification of North and South Korea may be the only way we can see them really truly to be free anytime soon. So please be a voice for reunifications and a voice for freedom in North Korea. I think this is something that we can also partner together with many different organizations and say, yes, we need to do something. I never thought that I'll be speaking in UN, I'll be speaking, I spoke at US Senate and then Congress. And there are people that I met that made a lot of differences. And then this is something I had no idea when I was in prison. So even for that setting, I realized that God has a plan.
Right.
And even though I thought was a suffering, I was just suffering for suffering's sake, but that made suffering beneficial because now I'm doing what I'm doing now. Yeah.
I'm so really touched by your resilience and strength, and I think that why U.S. politics is often focusing on nuclear weapon and they completely put human rights as a secondary issue. And usually when it comes to American public or the Western free countries, people really do not even understand what a privilege it is to even know what it means to be free, right? People have been in this bubble having no clue what are people going through in countries like China and North Korea under oppression. So I think that is amazing that you are using your voice and your experience and your suffering to educate us all and how we can also move forward. That I do still believe in the power of prayers. It doesn't have to be a Christian or anything. I think it's the word is full of, I don't know, it's such a magical power. I always believe in miracles because my life is one of them. And I'm sure you feel the same way, right? It's a miracle that we went through and came out of it and here where we are right now. So, I hope that our interview today was giving a lot of hope to the people, and also it also reminds of, after my suffering, what I had to come to is that there's a meaning in life, and we can drive meaning in anything, and even if that means a suffering in the labor camp. So I hope more people choose that meaning is helping other people, helping the people who are voiceless and who is not free. So thank you so much for sharing your story. I would love to have you back, and I'm gonna make sure add that link with my audience and that your book. Really everybody should read this book. It's a incredible book, and we hope work together to free more North Koreans together.
Yes, so book is
Yeah.
called Not Forgotten. Is available
Mm-hmm.
in Amazon and elsewhere. So, yeah, if you haven't had a chance to read the book, I think this will be a good way to for you to get more information.
Mm.
And then also, I set up a couple of other organizations to help North Korean people. One is called ngikorea.org. So you can go to the website and see what we are doing to help the rebuilding North Korean students' lives in South Korea. And another one is called nkrelief.org. And this is for helping North Korean refugees in third country, such as China and other countries who are hiding inside, but we're helping them with the counseling, one-on-one Bible study to help them with their children's education fund, or even just living expenses for their living in very rural area and having really difficulties. So there are a certain way that you guys can come and take a look and be a prayer partners, or even find, even the way that you can say, hey, I want North Korean people's life. Is there anything I can do? You can come and join the movements in that way. So I really appreciate this time. I really want you guys to go to prayer number 4nk.org to sign up. And that way, everybody can stand the line together and see, shout out together. And someday that we will see North Korean people be free together. Yeah, that'll be great. So thank you so much for this time. Yeah.
Thank you.